Joining me now is Ben Smith, again, editor-in-chief of Semaphore News, and Tali Farhadian-Weinstein, former federal and state prosecutor. Thank you both for helping me get through some of this mountain of pretty damning evidence. I mean, I guess first to you, Tali, the people that are being quoted in this are not random minions at Fox News. We're talking about Rupert Murdoch, Lachlan Murdoch, who I believe is the chair of Fox, Suzanne Scott, the CEO of Fox News, Jay Wallace, the president of Fox News, the Fox Corp senior VP, Irina Briganti, the senior executive VP of corporate communications, and all of the top Fox primetime talent. I mean, how meaningful is that in the context of a defamation lawsuit?
Well, it's incredibly meaningful, Alex, and particularly in the context of this defamation lawsuit, because given the crush of evidence here, I think we have to ask, well, what are they actually going to argue about in front of a jury if this case makes its way to a jury, which it seems like it's headed to do? And I think that this is going to be one of the real issues. If pressed and if they're backed into a corner, I think that what they might say is, okay, our guests lied on air, and okay, maybe even some of our hosts lied on air, but that doesn't mean that the entire organization is responsible. And this is really great evidence to say, well, no, everybody knew on the way up the chain that they were knowingly making false statements in their broadcasts and had the opportunities to stop it. You know, one of the most interesting emails in there, one of the most interesting depositions in there is with Viet Din, the chief legal officer of Fox, where he is asked, well, doesn't everybody in the chain of command have some responsibility to correct falsehoods and stop them? And he says, yes.
Yeah. They admitted in the deposition. Yeah. And you mentioned this before we got to this segment, but that's the stuff we know. Right. There are whole sections of this that are just redacted in their entirety. And one wonders what's in that stuff.
Exactly, because that's been redacted by Fox. Right.
Yes.
And so this is the stuff
they allowed us to see.
Was less bad for them. And, you know, it's kind of amazing, this stack, because, you know, Donald Trump has lawyers all around the country pulling their hair out because he never writes anything down.
Yes.
Well, here, you know, every thought is written down. And what you think really matters in a defamation lawsuit, because what Dominion has to prove is that they acted with actual malice, that they knew that what they were doing was false, or they had reckless disregard for the truth. And this is just over and over again saying exactly what Dominion needs them to be saying in order to prevail in this lawsuit.
It's a lot of correspondence, Ben, and purely from a media standpoint, the sourcing for their big fraud lies is, I mean, you can't even say it's paper thin. It's completely fabricated. The source that we talk about, who has an out-of-body experience, believes that they were internally decapitated. By the way, I don't know what internal decapitation is. I always thought it was kind of an external. Yes, chilling. I mean, that's the stuff they're putting on air.
You're saying none of your sources are ghosts?
I have no ghost sources. I mean, maybe I've been not casting a wide enough net.
You're missing out. I mean, yeah, it's, you know, I mean, it's if you had, I mean, it's exactly what, if you just watched Fox and Fox Business during that period, this is basically exactly what you would expect, but like 20% dumber, basically, which is probably, I mean, that's not that unusual in the world when you imagine there's some brilliant conspiracy and in fact they're all bumbling around. I mean, I think, you know, I think it is worth saying this is Dominion's in very, very aggressively argued motion in which they are, and it's very early that they're really putting all this stuff out. They're doing it in the most embarrassing possible way without context to make Fox look as bad as possible. I think it's worth understanding that when we read these documents.
It's pretty effective.
Not that hard to do that. But I do think that's important. And that's obviously because they're trying to either get the jury the impression that, to sort of set the case in public, or to show Fox how much worse this can get so that they will settle. But there's a level of legal gamesmanship happening here I think is worth knowing. I think you'll see Fox argue that, well, maybe some of our people are total lunatics who believed this, in which case it's not malicious, they're just crazy. And the rest of us were running around trying to clean it up. And there's some of that in there, too, for sure.
There's a little bit of that. Do you think that, I mean, in terms of the legal strategy, where does Fox go? Like, where do they go from here?
Right. I don't think they have great options. But I think the first thing that they might do is just say some of the stuff we said on TV was true. I mean, that is the best defense against a defamation claim, is the truth. I don't think that's going to get them very far. So I think that what they might try to do is get as many legal issues as they can in front of the jury, because the facts are not good for them. And of course, that's not the jury's job. But they might try to get the jury excited about the First Amendment and what this might mean if they are held liable. I think Dominion's excellent legal team is going to try not to let those issues get in front of the jury, but that's one of them. Another legal issue that they might try to bring up is to say, well, we just created a public square. We have to let everybody air out their views.
Including people who get the information from ghosts who are internally decapitated.
Right. And of course, that's not the law. Publishers, of course, can be held liable if they knowingly broadcast or print false things. They might try to work on damages if they're really stuck and say, well, you know, even if we did this, $1.6 billion is a stunt. How do you arrive at that number? That's just to get attention. You can't possibly have been damaged to that extent. But, you know, I wouldn't want to be on their legal team right now. I mean, none of these are really excellent strategies.
I mean, yeah, 1.6, it's 1.6 billion. Am I right, everyone?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. Do you think that negotiating over settlements could be part of this in the end?
To settle would, for them, for Fox, would I mean to admit that they knowingly lied on air over and over and over again, which is not a great, you know, business decision for them to make. But I don't quite see it going that way. I think that they're going to do their best on their legal motions and in front of the jury.
Do you think it matters? I mean, and I understand that it's not a great business call to have to say, oh, we lied about this major thing. But does that matter to the Fox News audience? They're not covering this on Fox.
No, I mean, the basic Fox bet, and you see it in the document, you see it how they talk, is that they have to show respect for their audience. And the way you respect your audience is you tell them whatever they want to hear, whether it's true or false. That's not how most of us in this business, you know, do our jobs. It's a pressure you always feel in media that I think good journalists resist, and that they are totally, totally committed to that. And they exist in this kind of closed loop with some of their audience, where I actually think, you know, what the New York Times reported that Fox said in a, you know, black letter legal brief, that'll never make it to their audience.
Well, we are going to talk about it because there's more to come. This is, again, not all of it.
People who switched from Tucker to this show are going to get an education.
All two of you. Ben Smith, Tali Farhadian Weinstein, it's great to see you both. Thank you for helping me uncover some of the truth behind ghost sources. Appreciate it.